Think back to about 793 to about 1066, which I know may seem like a long time to think about, but you know the Viking era. And now picture the Viking's helmet, and what do you think it looks like? Does it have horns on its head? If that's what you thought, which kind of looks similar to this, you probably thought something scarier. It's actually a myth. The truth is that there is no archaeological proof that the Vikings indeed wore helmets with horns. The myth about Vikings dates back as early as the 1800s, that a Scandinavian artist portrayed his raiders to look as scary beasts with helmet horns. Um, Today, I will talk about who the Vikings were, where their horn helmet myth started, and what they actually wore on their heads. The term Viking does not just have one definition that we think of today. It actually, according to Nature Park Amundsen, the term Vikings or Vikingur, which is Old Norse, it is used collectively to describe the Scandinavian explorers, traders, warriors who raided, traded, explored, and settled across large parts of Europe, Asia, and North Atlantic islands. Also, they settled in Canada, which makes them the first people to step on North America. Their settlement didn't last long there. Um, Vikings were actually feared for their famous long, flat-bottomed ships, which could not only withstand the ocean, could also go through shallow waters like rivers, but it also could land onto shore directly. Um, According to Nature Park Amundsen, the Vikings were extremely adept traders and also established many successful settlements in England, Scotland, Ireland, and Iceland. In fact, they were even pronounced to be the cleaner of the two, of England and the Vikings, by the Englanders themselves, actually. The Viking helmet was an artist's creative dream. According to the History Channel, Scandinavian artists like Sweden's Gustav Malmström in the 1800s included the horns on the Viking's helmet in their portrayals of the raiders. The stereotype did not stick, however, until the 1870s when costume designer Carl Emil Doppler of Der Ring des Nibelungen, which is a Wagner opera, created helmets with horns for the Viking characters. History Channel also states that Maelstrom and Doppler and many others have been inspired by the 19th century discoveries of the ancient horn helmets, which turned out to actually predate the Vikings, to their Norse and Germanic priests, also to the Greek and Romans. Horn helmets would not have been practical for anything but ceremonial practices, according to the History Channel and Nature Park Amundsen. The Vikings did not wear horn helmets. Horn helmets would only impede in close combat. If you think about it, those big horns would actually get caught in brush or trees or anything above them, like ceilings. You know, imagine them jumping around from place to place. Also, if you think about close combat, you can imagine how a combatant would pull the Viking by their horns. Therefore, it was not practical to do that. Not only that, most Vikings were actually farmers, and not rich farmers at that. Making helmets like this would have become extremely expensive. If you think about of all the gilded adornments and extra horns and extra metal, actually, according to Nature Park Amundsen, Viking helmets were actually that looked a lot more like this. They were conical and made from hard leather with wood, or made with, or were metallic, made with a mask and chainmail. They were made out of 4 parts, as you can see because of the actual cost that it cost them to make it straight from metal. This is a depiction only. Most of this would just be hard leather right here, and maybe wood along here, and inside would be like sheep's wool or something to actually hold from the blunt. But still, you cannot see the horns. So I forget about the Viking costume helmets that you believed were real Viking gear, and instill into your brain that Vikings were not only raiders, they were traders and settlers too. And horn helmets were not worn by the Vikings, but worn by their Norse priests instead.